The holding cells beneath the arena stank of old blood and fear. Marcus pressed himself against the cold stone wall, listening to the heavy footfalls of the guards fade down the corridor. His human frame was small compared to the towering Draken. Warriors who ruled this world, but size had never been his advantage anyway. 3 months he had spent on this forsaken planet. 3 months since his scout ship crashed in the western wastes. 3 months of surviving in the shadows, while the Draken waged their endless wars and paraded their conquered captives through the fighting pits. He had not planned to be here tonight. The smart move would have been to steal a shuttle from the northern spaceport and disappear into the void. But then he had seen her in the procurement district, chained and defiant, her violet skin marked with the brands of a dozen defeated worlds. A Kolari scout, if he remembered his xenobiology correctly. They were rare this far from the core systems. The plan had been simple. Wait for the prisoner transfer, create a distraction, grab the Kolari, and run. What he had not accounted for was how heavy Draken security doors were, or how loud they sounded when forced open with improvised explosives. Now alarms screamed through the underground complex, and Marcus dragged the unconscious Kolari woman over his shoulder, while plasma bolts scorched the walls around him. She was heavier than she looked, all muscle and sharp angles. He ducked into a service tunnel, his breathing ragged. Behind him, the Draken roared commands in their guttural language. At least 6 of them, maybe more. His stolen plasma pistol had maybe 4 shots left. The Kolari stirred on his shoulder. Her eyes snapped open, twin pools of amber gold that fixed on him with immediate hostility. "Put me down," she hissed, "trying to save your life here. You are an idiot." Marcus would have laughed if he was not so busy running. He rounded a corner and nearly collided with a maintenance drone. The machine beeped in confusion as he shoved past it. "Those doors lock from the inside," the Kolari continued, her voice sharp despite her position. "You just trapped us in the lower levels. The only exit is through the main garrison." "I know." "Then you are definitely an idiot." She was not wrong. Marcus had studied the facility layout for 2 weeks, memorizing every corridor and checkpoint. The garrison housed 300 Draken soldiers. Going through it was suicide, which was exactly why no one would expect it. He set her down in an alcove, quickly working at her restraints with a plasma cutter. The metal bands fell away as she rubbed her wrists, eyeing him with suspicion. "Who are you, human? Does it matter? I need to know if you are brave or stupid. Both, probably." The Kolari stood, and Marcus realized she was taller than him by half a head. Her armor was gone, replaced by the simple gray shift all prisoners wore, but she carried herself like a warrior. She looked at the plasma pistol in his hand, then at the corridor ahead, where heavy boots were approaching. "Give me the weapon," she said. "Not happening. I am trained for combat. You are clearly not." Marcus smiled despite everything. "Lady, I have survived 3 months on a Draken War world, with nothing but a broken translator and a really good sense of when to hide. I think I will manage." Her eyes narrowed, but there was something like respect in them now. "What is your plan?" "The garrison has a vehicle depot on the eastern side. We steal a transport, crash through the main gates, and hope we make it to the wastes before they shoot us down. That is the worst plan I have ever heard." "You got a better one?" She paused, then shook her head. "No, but I want the weapon." Marcus tossed her the plasma pistol. "Try not to shoot me." They moved through the tunnels like ghosts, the Kolari leading now with the predatory grace of her people. Twice they encountered patrols, and twice she dispatched them with brutal efficiency. Marcus focused on keeping up and trying not to think about the 100 ways this could go wrong. The garrison depot was chaos when they arrived. Someone had triggered a fire suppression system, and white foam covered everything. Draken soldiers shouted and slipped on the slick floor, while automated systems blared warnings. Did you do that? The Kaleri asked. Marcus checked his modified communicator. Set it on a timer. Figured we could use the distraction. For the first time, she almost smiled. Perhaps you are not completely an idiot. They commandeered a troop transport, the Kaleri, at the controls while Marcus worked the weapons console. The vehicle lurched forward, crashing through a supply depot and scattering soldiers like toys. Plasma fire peppered the armored hull as they accelerated toward the main gates. The gates are reinforced durasteel, the Kaleri shouted over the noise. We will not break through. I know. Marcus activated the transport's missile system, targeting not the gates, but the power junction beside them. The explosion lit up the night, and the massive gates shuddered as their magnetic locks failed. The transport hit them at full speed, and the gates bent, twisted, and finally gave way. They roared into the open desert, the garrison shrinking behind them. The Kaleri pushed the transport to its limits, weaving between rock formations, while pursuit vehicles appeared on their tail. Where are we going? She demanded. Canyon system, 10 kilometers north. My ship crashed there. Your ship is functional? Parts of it. She cursed in her own language, something musical and vicious. A plasma bolt struck their rear armor, and the transport shuddered. Marcus returned fire, taking out one of the pursuit vehicles, but 3 more replaced it. The canyons rose before them, jagged spires of red stone piercing the purple sky. The Kaleri dove into the labyrinth without hesitation, her piloting skills keeping them centimeters from disaster. Behind them, 2 of the Draken vehicles were not as lucky and became wreckage against the canyon walls. Marcus spotted the familiar outline of his crashed scout ship wedged between 2 rock faces. There, set us down. The Kaleri brought the transport to a grinding halt, and they ran for the ship. The last pursuit vehicle appeared at the canyon mouth, its weapons charging. Marcus slapped the emergency power cell he had been saving for 3 months into the ship's auxiliary slot. The systems hummed to life with agonizing slowness. It is not going to make it, the Kaleri said, watching the Draken vehicle approach. Yes, it will. Marcus had spent weeks cannibalizing parts, rerouting systems, and building something that should not work but might. The scout ship was never meant to fly again, but he was human, and humans were very good at making broken things function, just long enough to matter got. The engines caught with the scream of protesting metal. He grabbed the Kaleri and hauled her into the cockpit, slamming the hatch as plasma fire scorched the hull. The ship lifted, wobbling dangerously, held together by improvised welds and desperate hope. They cleared the canyon as the scout ship's struggling engines fought against gravity. The Draken vehicle fired one last volley, and warning lights flooded the cockpit. Hull breach in 3 sections, life support failing, navigation offline. But they were airborne. Marcus pushed the ship higher, into the thin upper atmosphere, where the Draken sensors could not track them easily. The Kaleri worked the co-pilot controls. Without being asked, her fingers dancing over systems she should not have understood, but somehow did. Heading? She asked. Anywhere but here. They limped into orbit as the scout ship began to tear itself apart. Marcus activated the distress beacon, broadcasting on all frequencies. Someone would hear it eventually. They had to. The Kaleri looked at him across the cramped cockpit, her expression unreadable. You risked your life for a stranger. Why? Marcus shrugged, monitoring the failing systems. Seemed like the right thing to do. That is not an answer. Maybe I am just an idiot, like you said. She was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached out and placed her hand over his on the control stick. Her skin was warm despite everything, her grip strong. You did something no Draken warrior would ever do, she said softly. You chose compassion over survival. That is not idiocy. That is what makes humans dangerous. A proximity alert chimed. 3 ships dropping out of hyperspace. broadcasting Kalari military codes. Rescue or reinforcements, Marcus could not tell which. The woman beside him smiled, fierce and proud. My name is Lyra. I am a captain in the Kalari fleet. And you, human, have just started a diplomatic incident that will echo across the galaxy. Marcus laughed, exhausted and exhilarated. Great. Does that mean I get a ride home? It means you get a medal, a debriefing that will last weeks, and probably a job offer you cannot refuse. The Kalari ships moved into formation around the dying scout vessel, their tractor beams engaging. Through the viewport, Marcus could see the Draken homeworld falling away, a sphere of red and gold vanishing into the black. He had come to this system as a lost scout. He was leaving as something else entirely. What that was, he would discover soon enough. Lyra squeezed his hand once before releasing it. Thank you, Marcus the Idiot, for reminding me why some species are worth saving. As the Kalari ships pulled them to safety, Marcus allowed himself to believe that maybe being an idiot was not such a bad thing after all.